Hi everyone, Janey here. Welcome back to my garden. It is not raining today, and I have not been able to say that for a week now. We have been going through quite rainy weather here on the West Coast. They called it atmospheric river, and it's been quite intense. And I have to say, we here in Davis, we have been on like the southern end of it, so we really didn't get it bad at all. We got a ton of rain, but no flooding or anything like that a lot of people got further north of us. So I hope all of you are safe and your gardens are safe. I know a couple people lost trees and stuff like that, which is such a bummer, but we are okay here. And so today is the first day that it hasn't rained, and there's like the teeniest bit of rain in the forecast, but hopefully we'll be okay to be outside working because the garden sure does need it. So what I want to work on today is I want to work on some maintenance, which is something that has kind of been on my radar. Now that we've got all the trees planted, tree fall is done, we've got all our trees in, because we've been planting so much this past year in this new garden, maintenance has kind of gotten put on the back burner because we've been so busy doing other things. So now I'm really focusing on maintenance. And in my last garden, I had a much smaller garden, and my maintenance schedule was different in that garden versus this garden. In that garden, I could assign each maintenance task for a day of the week. So for instance, on Monday, I always fertilized. On Tuesdays, I always addressed pest control. On Wednesdays, I always weeded, and so on and so on. And so when I first moved to this property, which is about an acre, I tried continuing on with the same maintenance schedule. Mondays, I would do this. Tuesdays, I would do this. And I just realized I just couldn't do it. It was just too much. So I've changed my maintenance schedule to instead doing the zoning type things. And I talked about this in my last maintenance video that I did, where I did the chicken coop, the compost pile, and the Vigo garden beds. Indoors, I've used the fly lady method. If those of you know what I'm talking about, basically what it is that it breaks your home up into zones, and you address each zone like 1 week is addressed to one zone, and you limit yourself to the amount of time, because basically it's such a big job, you're not going to be able to get to all of it. So I've decided, I do that inside. I try and do it inside. And so I've decided to take it outside and do the same technique outside. And so far it's been working really well. So today's zone is the orchard garden, which is basically here, the side of the house, all the way over this way, all the way over this way, all the way over this way, until you get to that part of the fence. I consider this my orchard garden, obviously, because I have orange trees, pomegranate tree, fig tree, lime tree, and my new Eureka lemon tree. So this I assigned as one of my zones. This is probably my biggest zone. So I'm not expecting to get all of it done, but I at least want to start working in the area. And today I just want to get just some things cleaned up. I don't want to do too intense work, because when the ground is wet, one of the worst things that you can do is really do a lot of work, because that's when the ground is susceptible to getting compacted. So they say when it's rain, like you don't even want to plant when it's raining. And they say that. I don't always follow that, because sometimes I just want to get out here and plant or do some things. But just trying to limit the amount that you're walking on wet soil is kind of what they, kind of the idea, because you don't want to compact your soil. So I think today I'm going to address my espalier. It's looking really good. I just got to clean it up a little bit. I really need to get over here and address this lavender twist redbud. This redbud got affected really bad with a fungus. It's lost all its leaves, and all its leaves are down there in this mass of Truffula pink gomphrena, and I need to clean up all of those leaves so that the fungus doesn't overwinter and affect the tree again next year. So I want to clean up all this Truffula pink gomphrena. I was thinking about leaving it, but like you can see, like this is a leaf that's been affected by this Cercospora fungus, which is a redbud fungus, and I just need to make sure that I get all of those leaves cleaned up. So I think I'm just going to clean this whole thing up. I do need to transplant this Niagara Falls grass. I'm going to transplant it over into the willow garden bed. The reason why I'm transplanting this is my hose, and I pull it out this way, and so you can imagine what happens. It just gets demolished, as does this Miss Molly butterfly bush, but I think I'm just going to put one of those hose guides right there so that it stops crushing it as I pull the hose out this way. Then coming over here, this is an area that I definitely need to address. It's just kind of overgrown and it needs to be cut back. There are some things that I am not going to cut back because it's not the right time to cut them back. For instance, my Kniphofia, my Orange Blvd Kniphofia, you don't want to cut back Kniphofia or Russian sage in the fall. You want to leave it all so that it can kind of protect the plant over winter and then cut it back in the spring. So I actually won't be touching any of those. I do want to trim up my lemon coral sedum border. I think I do need to keep trimming up my Shasta daisies right here. I do need to prune back all of my plain the blue salvia right here. So this is technically an annual, but for me, it is a perennial. So I'm just going to cut it back just to the foliage level, even though the blooms look so good. Don't they look good? It looks so good still. I love this plant. But I'm just going to kind of clean it up and trim it back to the foliage level. And then in the spring, I will prune it back to like 3 inches or something like that. And then I do want to cut back this Caryopteris right here. This definitely needs to be cut back as well. So yeah, so just a lot of stuff to do. I don't know how much I'm going to get to. I think I'm going to give myself a limit of 2 hours. I think that that'll be a good limit to work out here. And just kind of see what I can get done. positive there's a hummingbird nest in my fig tree, because there are 2 hummingbirds that are not leaving me alone, and they're just sitting there. They must be protecting their nest. Where's your nest? Where is it? I don't see it. All right, it's been 2 hours. The gray skies have burned off and I got a lot of stuff done. Not all of it, of course, not all of it in the orchard garden, but I was able to be super focused and give myself the full 2 hours and try and get as much done as I can. And when I get around to it, I'll come back here and do another 2 hours. Did you find your Frisbee? Did you find your Frisbee? Okay, ready? Ready? I know, I'm so good at throwing Frisbees, huh? Anyway, so let me show you what I got done in these 2 hours of maintenance. So I got started over here at the Star Jasmine Espalier. I cannot believe how much this has grown. It's only been in for a year, you guys. 1 year, and it already looks like this. It's almost completely filled in. I think the Star Jasmine is just super happy in this spot because it has the warmth of this wall. This wall is east facing. So it has the nice, beautiful morning sun, but it gets protected from the heat, the afternoon heat. And it's just super, super happy here. And I love it. So I just easily trained it. I just recently did one big train pruning of this espalier. And that's the benefit of using Star Jasmine versus at my last property, I had ivy, and that I literally had to train every single week. I'm not kidding. Every single week I had to go out there and I had to address it. This I've only done maybe 3 times this year. This is my 3rd time this year. So picking a specific plant you want for your espalier is really important depending on how much work you want to put into it. Don't get me wrong, I loved my ivy espalier. I still love it. I'll drive by it at my old house and I just love it. But this is really pretty and I have so much more work in this property. I think it's good to have a plant on my espalier that's a little bit less work. So I worked on that, kind of just trimmed off some wayward branches and trained some around the wire. And then I came over here to my lavender twist redbud and addressed that. I left this one last leaf on. I read a book about, and it was I'll put it on screen right now. I cannot remember his name right now, but basically he was talking about how romantic the very last leaf on the tree of the year is, and how the tree's kind of just holding on and not ready to let go. And then as soon as it lets go, then that, the tree's kind of gone to sleep for the season. And I just love it. After reading that, I love seeing a tree with one leaf left. And so I had to leave this one. Once it falls off, I'll have to come out here and grab it and pick it up, because I made sure I picked up every single leaf, because this tree had a pretty bad disease this year. So I just want to make sure that I pick up all the diseased leaves, and then I'll probably do some dormant spray maybe in January or something, just to make sure it doesn't come back. But yeah, so I cleaned up that, and when I did that, I picked up took away all the Truffula pink gomphrena, which was kind of a bummer because it was such a pretty pink color here. It still had color, but I think it was good. And now this creeping Jenny is going to be able to spread more, which is what I want. I want it to be my ground cover here. I did also transplant this Niagara Falls grass over to the willow tree area. I'm really glad I did that. And I liked it there, but functionally it just didn't work at all. Then coming down this way, what a nice, beautiful day it is after a week of rain. My goodness. So coming down this way, I started addressing this whole garden bed right here. First of all, I started pruning my lemon coral sedum because that's kind of gotten a little out of control. I only did this side. I haven't gotten to that side yet. I'll get to that. I worked on cutting back the rest of my Shasta daisies, Daisy May Shasta daisies. Actually, these aren't Daisy May. These are Banana Cream Shasta daisies. So they're already looking nice and neat. I did cut back a lot of my Suncredible sunflowers. I'm leaving them because They should come back, not for sure. I might take out, like, you can see how many I planted. I planted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, way too many of those giant plants. So I'll probably take out like that one and probably that one and probably 2 of those over there, just so I have maybe 3 left over in this area, because I just overplanted, which is like me. That's pretty consistent for what I do. So I just kind of cleaned up this area just to make it a little bit better. I did also cut back my Pruning the blue salvia, but I left a lot of the blooms on it because the blooms are still looking gorgeous. Do you see why I love this plant so much? So there's bees all over it, and then I do have the hummingbirds that I'm almost positive have a nest in my fig tree, and I actually have seen them on the Pruning the blue salvia as well. So just to leave them a little bit of a food source would be good. I also have a hummingbird feeder in the backyard that I'm sure they visit as well. But at least they can have some right next to their nest. Then you can see here, I kind of cleaned this whole area up, which, my goodness, that looks so much better. That needed to happen. All of the Pruning the blue salvia was kind of falling over into the pathway, and the lemon coral sedum was kind of growing into the pathway. So that area just needed cleaned up for sure. And then finally, I came over here to the Beyond Pink's Caryopteris, and I cleaned that back. So I pruned that back pretty close to the ground, which I think will be good for it, because then it can kind of grow back bushier. And it's a Caryopteris is a very brittle plant. This is a pile of stuff I forgot to pick up. Ignore that. I have 3 of them here. 1, 2, 3. It's a very, very brittle plant. And so I want to make sure my plants are branching so that if one branch cuts off, it's not leaving like a hole in the plant. And so cutting it back is going to help with the branching. So that's good. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. And look at my Chinese pistache tree in the background. What a beautiful day. My goodness. So I'm definitely liking this plan for maintenance. It makes me feel a lot better. It makes me feel like that I'm not constantly behind, which is how I was feeling, because there's no way that I can get everything done in one day, like all the weeding on an acre property. There's no way I can do that. So doing these zones is a lot better, and then limiting it by the amount of time that you have. So giving myself 2 hours to spend here, and then I can check that off my list. I still have to come, like I said, I still have to come out here. I still have more maintenance that I have to do in the orchard garden, but not everything needs to happen right now. So just limiting myself based on time, I think, is really, really good. Makes me feel better, makes me still feel like on top of it, like I'm taking care of my garden, and I'm still getting stuff done. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.